Congressman Trey Gowdy of South Carolina. He's the chairman of the House Select Committee on Benghazi. Mr. Chairman, thanks very much for joining us. I want to get a question or two about Benghazi in there, but let's talk about the president's plans now to do away with the enormous deaths here in the United States. 30,000 people a year die from gun violence in the United States. Is there any part of the president's new strategy you would support?
Sure. And what I would advise the president, having spent 16 years prosecuting gun violence, is we need to do a much better job prosecuting current gun violators. Wolf, gun prosecutions are down over the past 10 years. If you look at the current background check denials, in 2012, the last numbers I saw were 80,000 background check denials. Out of those 80,000, there were less than 500 prosecutions. So before you ask for new weapons in the war on crime, it is fair for me to say, how are you doing with your current weapons? And there's a very small percentage of our fellow citizens who are criminally inclined, very small. So if you can put them in jail for a gun violation before they commit murder, before they commit a mass killing, why is that not a better strategy?
Well, are you suggesting, Mr. Chairman, that those 80,000 or so who were denied an opportunity because of their background checks to purchase a gun should be prosecuted?
Absolutely. It's against the law to lie in the application for a firearm. It is against the law to seek a firearm if you're under indictment. It is against the law to seek a firearm if you're a convicted felon. There are large categories of people who cannot possess or purchase firearms, and our prosecution levels are anemic and declining in those areas.
So when you ask the administration why they're not prosecuting these individuals, what's the answer you get?
Well, I have asked both Attorney General Holder and Attorney General Loretta Lynch, and I am biased towards prosecutors. I admit that up front. They tell me these cases lack jury appeal. Nobody gets that better than I do. I've stood in front of lots of juries and didn't have an appealing case. Murder is appealing to a jury, but your objective is to prevent the murder. So you have to prosecute them for that fundamental violation, whether it be a background check, whether it be a felon in possession, whether it be you've been court-martialed and you're in possession of a firearm. All those categories are prohibited persons. Wolf, you probably know this. If you're not in the country legally, you can't possess a firearm. If you've overstayed a visa, you can't possess a firearm. So what are you doing with the current laws before you tell me we need more of them?
Are you going to support the president's proposal for $500 million, $500 million to increase the issue of mental health, to make sure that people who don't have proper mental health can't go out there and buy a gun?
Well, I am supportive of the concept of people having access to mental health. You don't know this, Wolf, and there's no reason for you to know this, but I had a gun pulled on me outside of church a couple of years ago by a woman who was adjudicated unfit to stand trial. She was criminally irresponsible. So I have lived coming face to face with somebody who does not know the difference between right and wrong. So I support the notion of getting people access to mental health, but it's already against the law for anyone who's been adjudicated mentally ill or mentally deficient to access a firearm. So it would be fair, I think, for Anderson tonight to say, Mr. President, out of those people who currently are violating the law by accessing guns, what are your prosecution levels? Because I can tell you, Wolf, they are anemic for people who currently have been adjudicated mentally ill and cannot possess firearms, but yet have tried to do so.
Let me quickly get your thoughts on your investigation into what happened in Benghazi, Libya. All of us remember the 11 hours of testimony that Hillary Clinton, the former Secretary of State, provided in open session. You're now having these closed-door meetings with others who were involved. The former CIA Director General Petraeus testified yesterday. Leon Panetta, the former Defense Secretary, will testify tomorrow. Are you making any headway? Are you learning new information about what may have happened?
Yes, sir. We're actually doing an interview today with a witness named Charlene Lamb. We are up to our 66th witness interview, the overwhelming majority of which have never been talked to by any congressional committee before. And you're right, Secretary Clinton was in public, but it's the only one that's in public, and it's the only one that's going to be in public because the private transcribed interviews are so much more effective for gathering information than a public spectacle. So all the rest of them are going to be in private, and all the rest of them will be productive.
Trey Gowdy of South Carolina. He's the chairman of the House Select Committee on Benghazi. Mr. Chairman, thanks very much for joining us. We'll be anxious to get that report. When do you think that report's going to be ready, by the way?
Well, boy, if you could help me speed up the administration to get me documents, I'd be grateful to you, Wolf. I want to wrap up tomorrow, but I've got a dozen more witnesses, and I've got 3 departments that haven't given me my documents. I want to get it done as soon as possible. Maybe they'll listen to you. They're not listening to me right now.
All right, well, we'll stay in close touch with you, and we'll be anxious to read that report. Mr. Chairman, thanks very much.
Yes, sir. Thank you.